Hello guys, how is it going? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm coming with a real life build, and that's the Corona tracker. If you're happy to see that, give it a thumbs up. And also, if you find this video to be useful, consider subscribing by hitting the bell icon. Without any further ado, let's jump right in. Let's initialize our project by typing expo init and name our project as Corona tracker. To actually see this working on your terminal, you need to have Node.js and Expo Clay installed. I've done a video on that and I'll link down in the description below so you can check it out. We then proceed to choose a blank minimal template. So in here, it will start installing our JavaScript dependencies. So we can see in here that our project is ready. So we can cd into our Corona tracker folder. You can open this in VS Code with this command code and a period. So with that command, it will open the folder in VS Code. So let's do that. Let's open up our terminal. Ctrl J will pop up the terminal, or you can search the terminal above there. We need Axios for making requests, so we need to install the Axios and also React Native Paper. And also we need React Native Packer/Packer. So let's install that. So as you can see, we have a successful installation in here. When we check the package.json file, we can see a React Native Packer and also Axios and also React Native Paper as well. When we take a clear look at the app, we can see we have the Corona image, and also beneath the Corona image, we have the thread card displaying the information. And the last component is the selector or the picker for selecting the countries. So we will be building our project from top to down. So let's start with the Corona image tracker. So let's do that. So let's get rid of that, and also let's get rid of that too. Let's comment out our code. We have our Corona image first. Beneath that, we have the thread cards displaying the information, and also we have the selector or the country picker as the last component. So we are going to build these three components. So let's start with the Corona image. Let's create a file and name it as Corona image. So within that file, let's import React from React. And also we need to import the image component from React Native. Check it out, we are importing it from React Native, not from React. So let's proceed to create the function. So export const Corona image, which is another function. Within that, we'll be returning the image component. And the image has a couple of properties. It has a source property, so we need to specify the source of this image. So the source is found within the asset folder. So we use the require word to access the image locally. So source, which is equal to require, and we navigate through the asset folder, and the image is named as corona.png. So to actually see this working, we need to add some style to it. Let's give it a width of 400, height of 150, and a margin of 30, just like that. So when we check within the asset folder, you can see the corona.png. Oh, there it is. So this is the image we are trying to import. So let's open our app.js file and import the function we just created. That's the Corona image. So we have successfully created the Corona image component. So within the return, we need to return the image and proceed with the other components. So let's do that. Whoa, there it is. You can see a Corona tracker image there. Let's proceed. So let's move on to our card components. Let's create a file and name it as card.js. Within that, let's import React from React. And also we'll be importing something from React Native. We'll be importing the view and the text from React Native. And also let's proceed to create the function, the card function, which is an arrow function. Within that, it returns a view. Within that view, we'll be having a card. So we need to import the card from React Native paper. So let's do so. Within the card, we'll be having a title. So we need to import the title from React Native paper as well. So the title will be having a message of confirm cases. So let's start the card. Let's give it a background color of red and also a padding of 5. So let's copy that and paste it 3 more times. So in here we need to change the title from confirm cases to recovered. And also we need to change the background color to green. So let's paste it 1 more time. Let's give this a background color of white and the title will change to depth. We need to also start the view. So within the view we need to display flex, give it a flex direction of row, and also justify content space evenly. And also we need to give it a margin top of 20 just to push it from the top. Pretty much done with it. And also we need to export the card function as well. So within the view, let's align items at the center and also give it a flex wrap of wrap. Let's open our app.js file and import the card component. So we are done with the second component, that's the card. We need to render it there. So let's check it out. Let me comment out this and check it out. Wow, you can see our 3 cards with the title of confirmed cases, recovered, and death. But unfortunately, since we set the background color of the death to black, we are not seeing the text in there. So let's fix that back. Wow, so now we can see the text. Let's proceed. So when you check the app, the values beneath it is not hard coded. We fetch it from an API, so we'll be doing that in a sec. So let's create the third component. So let's create the last component, that's the country picker. So let's create a file and name it as countrypicker.js. So within that, rnfex will generate the template of the whole thing. So you can check it out from the extension React Native snippets. So within that, let's import the picker from React Native picker /picker. Within the view, we return the picker. Within that picker, we have the picker.item. It has a property called label. Let's give it a label of all and also a value of all. Let's start the picker. I'll be going with an style sheet way of styling. So style equal to styles.picker. So we name it as picker. So within the style sheet, I'll paste it there. So it will be having a margin vertical of 10, a margin top of 70, width of 300, and also border width of 1 and border color of gray. So let's start the view as well. Let's align items at the center and also justify contents at the center for now. Let's save the changes in there. Let's open our app.js file and import the country picker from /the country picker. That's the last component we just created. So within the function app, we need to return the country picker. So we need to get rid of that comment. Oh, so we had a bug. So from the third line of code, let's check it out. Oh, there it is. We need to import picker from @React Native picker /picker. So the @ is bringing the error. So let's do it. Wow, so we've created a third component. So we are pretty much done with the front end, and we need to fetch data from the API. So let's do so. Let's start by creating a folder and name it as API. Within the API folder, let's create a file and name it as index.js. Within the index.js file, let's import Axios from Axios, and also let's create a constant variable of URL and paste in the link. So when you follow the link, you can see it returns an object of match information, the confirmed object, and also recovered def, and also we can even the daily summary. So it entails a lot. So we'll be fetching the confirmed cases, the recovered, and the number of deaths. Let's create a function for fetching the data. It's going to be an asynchronous function. So within that function, we are going to have a try catch block. The try is going to be executed when we have a successful fetching of the data, and if we have any error, we use the catch method to catch the error. So let's do that. So within the try block, we use Axios.get and pass in the URL. Then we have a response back. Since it's an asynchronous function, we use the await to await Axios.get the URL. So for now, let's just console the log the response.data. The data will be receiving back. So within the catch block, you console.log the error message. So we've successfully created a fetch data function which will be responsible for fetching our data, and we need to call this function somewhere else, so we need to export it. So let's open our app.js file and import useState and useEffect from React. useState will keep track of when the data is fetched, and within the useEffect we'll call our function. So let's do that. The useState basically returns an array of two parameters. That's the current state, and the next one is the function that manipulates the current state. So within the useState, we will return an empty object. Let's fetch the data within the useEffect. It has a callback function and also a dependency array. So let's create a function within the useEffect and name it as getData, and it's going to be an asynchronous function, and we are going to set the data. Since it's an asynchronous, we are going to await the fetch data we just created from the API, and we need to import the fetch data as well. So let's do that. Creating the function, we just call it just like that. When we check our browser, we can see it returns an object with match details. That's the confirmed, we have the country details, the daily summary, def, recovered, last update. So we will be fetching all these. We will be fetching the confirmed, def, countries, and also the recovered. So let's do that. So within the index.js file, we need to actually destructure the data out of the response, and we will returning the data. Within the app.js file, we can actually pass the data as a prop for the card component. So let's do so. Data equals to data. Within the card function, we can destructure it, then pass the data. So our card will be having every detail about the data, and that's what we want. Within the card, I'll paste this in. That's the object.keys. What the object.keys does is that it returns an array of objects. So if the object.keys.length is greater than 0, it should return all these. Meaning if there is an object, we should see all these components. That's what I mean here. So let's do it. And let's wrap this within a JS fragment, otherwise we'll be having an error. Within the card, we'll be pulling out the confirmed data. So we do data.confirmed.value. That will give us the value of the confirmed cases. Same for the recovered, which will be data.recovered.value, and same for the def, data.def.value. So let's do that. So as you can see, we are actually pulling out the data from the API for the confirmed cases recovered and the number of deaths. So since the background color of the death card is black, we need to actually change the color to white to see it. So there it is. So let's create a function for fetching out the countries. So we copy that and paste it there. So we change the fetch data to fetch countries, and it's going to be an asynchronous call. So within the try block, we are actually going to fetch the countries. So asios.get, so we use the backtick, the URL, and we need to move on further to the countries. So within the data, we need to destructure the countries out of the data, and we are returning the country.name. So we need to map through the countries, and for each country we are going to return the country.name, and if it happens in any error, we use the console.log to show the error. So let's do that. Let's import the use state and use effect in the country picker.js. The use state will be responsible for keeping track of when the countries is fetched, and also within the use effect will be fetching our countries. So the use state, within the use state, it returns an array of two parameters, that the current state being the countries, and the function, that the state country, which will update the current state and passing an initial value of an empty array. So within the use effect, it has a callback function and a dependency array. We create a function within the use effect, and it's going to be an asynchronous function, and we are going to set the country. Since we are using an asynchronous function, we are going to await the fetch countries function. We need to import the fetch country from the API we just created, and also we need to call the countries, get countries. So within the dependency array, let's actually pass in the set countries. So beneath the picker.item, we are actually going to map through the countries, and for each country we will be having an instant return of a picker.item, and the label is going to be the country, the value also is going to be the country. So with that line of code added, we'll be fetching all the countries at once. Let's do so. Whenever you map through something, you should give it a key. So we are going to grab the key and give it a key of an index. There we go. So we've successfully fetched all the countries. Wow, let's proceed. So within the fetch data function, we are going to have the country as a parameter. So we'll be creating a variable of updated URL and just assign the URL to it. The reason why we are doing this is that whenever a country is selected, we should fetch the data of that. So if the country is selected, or if the country exists, we use the updated URL, and we'll be having a new URL to this country / that particular country. So within the try block, we'll be passing in the updated URL. So within the app.js file, we'll be creating a function, and that function is going to be named handle country selector, and that's going to be an asynchronous function, and it's going to take the country as a parameter. So we are going within that, we're going to create another function of fetch country data, and it's going to await the fetch data we just created from the API, and we are going to use the set data to update that data. So we pass in the set data and pass in the fetch country data, just like that, and we pass this as a prop to the country picker. We pass this as a prop to the country picker, so the country picker can have access to the information. Within the country picker, we can destructure the function there and pass in the handle country selector, since we pass that as a prop. So the picker has a prop to call on value change, and that on value change is going to take the value as a parameter, and we just pass in our function we just created, the handle country selector, and this also received the value. So this on value change property is going to switch between which country is selected to update the information about that very country. So when we check it out, we can see if we select a country, the confirmed cases get updated, dev gets updated, but we are having a little bug. It don't actually show the country, but you can see it reflects on the card. We are pretty much done. Hope you find this video to be useful. Give it a thumbs up and also subscribe as well if you've not done so. See you in our next tutorial. Until then, stay tuned.